Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the fascinating layered world of AI's physical footprint. We're going to investigate exactly why corporate sustainability reports and independent analyses arrive at such drastically different conclusions when it comes to the environmental and social impacts of the artificial intelligence boom. It's a wild ride, so let's get into it. Here's how we're going to break this all down today. First, the AI sustainability paradox. Second, the carbon accounting schism. Third, the secret water footprint. Fourth, AI colonialism and social justice. And finally, applying critical systems thinking. All right, let's jump right into part one, the AI sustainability paradox, promise versus reality. So we have to start with a stark paradox. Is AI going to save the climate, or is it actually a massive ecological burden? Major tech companies frequently promise that AI is going to help solve climate change, by optimizing smart grids, accelerating clean tech, driving efficiency. But at the exact same time, independent environmental groups and energy agencies are warning of a massive, unprecedented surge in data center energy demand. So how can both of these things be true at once? Well, the divide in the research is just profound. Corporate reports usually focus heavily on AI's potential to optimize future grid efficiency. But independent researchers, they point out the physical reality unfolding right now. Explosive data center growth is actively straining local grids. In places like Northern Virginia and the Carolinas, the demand for power from AI infrastructure is so intense that plans to close several coal plants have actually been delayed. We're looking at projections where data centers could consume up to 12% of the entire U.S. electricity supply by 2030. And to really wrap our heads around that sheer computational demand, consider this. A single ChatGPT query requires nearly 10 times as much electricity to process as a standard Google search. 10 times. It's a staggering leap in energy intensity per interaction, and it is completely reshaping our energy infrastructure needs. Moving on to part two, the carbon accounting schism and how the data gets obscured. This is where things get really interesting, because the crucial point underlying these conflicting reports is a methodological accounting schism. It's basically a tale of two spreadsheets. Companies predominantly use what's called market-based reporting. That allows them to purchase renewable energy certificates, or RECs, to offset their emissions on paper. But independent researchers use location-based accounting. This measures the physical reality, the actual fossil fuels burning in the local community to power that specific data center at that exact moment. This structural bias creates unbelievable gaps in the data. For instance, using market-based accounting, Meta reported only 273 metric tons of CO2 for their data centers in 2022. But an independent location-based analysis estimated those actual emissions at 3.8 million metric tons. I mean, that is a staggering 19,000-fold discrepancy. It's not just a calculation error, right? It's literally a completely different way of defining reality. When you stack these methodologies side by side, you can see how these divergent realities are built on entirely different scopes. Corporate methodologies tend to isolate very specific operational metrics, like the energy cost of a single median query, while completely ignoring the massive energy required to train the model in the first place. Independent systems researchers, on the other hand, look at the full life cycle. They include Scope 2 and Scope 3 emissions, capturing everything from power plants emissions all the way to supply chain hardware manufacturing. Okay, let's peel back another layer with Section 3, this secret water footprint, going beyond just electricity. Researchers have a pretty great term for how the industry reports all this: tactical vagueness. By using AI as a broad, catch-all umbrella term, companies can easily highlight the low-impact, highly beneficial AI uses, like, say, predicting weather, while quietly shedding accountability for the incredibly resource-intensive, water-guzzling harms caused by massive generative AI models. And the hidden physical toll here is absolutely massive. Training a single model like GPT-3 directly and indirectly consumes over 700,000 liters of freshwater just for server cooling and power generation. Then, on the hardware side, specialized AI components face obsolescence in just 2 to 3 years. That short lifespan is driving a colossal e-waste crisis. Right now, only about 20% of global e-waste is properly recycled, leaving literal mountains of toxic materials behind. A lot of the friction we're experiencing stems from outdated measurement frameworks, something really highlighted in reports from the Center for Data Innovation. We're currently tracking inputs using analog error rules, which completely ignores the complex dynamics of rapid, highly volatile AI power demands that are stressing out local infrastructure. Which brings us to Section 4, AI colonialism and social justice, the unequal burdens. Independent systemic reports document a phenomenon some researchers are calling AI colonialism. The idea here is that the financial rewards of the AI boom are highly concentrated among investors and executives right at the top. But the severe ecological and labor burdens, those get outsourced. They're pushed onto less politically powerful communities in the global south, creating what researchers term sacrifice zones for technological progress. To really put that burden into perspective, just think about the supply chain for a second. Mining the critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, and silicon that are required for AI sensors and GPUs is absolutely devastating to local environments. Processing just one single ton of rare earth ore can leave behind 2,000 tons of toxic waste. This contaminates soil and drinking water in vulnerable regions that frankly see almost nothing of AI's financial upside. So, how do we fix this? That takes us to Section 5, Applying Critical Systems Thinking, a way forward. To actually navigate this maze, we can use a framework called Critical Systems Thinking, or CST. This analytical approach demands transparency and forces us to examine the entire value chain. CST makes us question the underlying assumptions behind those corporate methodologies, acknowledge the power dynamics and who gets to control the data, and it demands we look at Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions as one interconnected system rather than just isolated bullet points. CST identifies 4 distinct quadrants of data gaps that are holding back sustainability. It's like a giant puzzle missing half its pieces. Hardware vendors hide embodied emissions, infrastructure operators obscure real water usage and cooling tech, operational data like workload profiles are kept secret, and big tech companies blur their actual renewable usage. This proprietary secrecy is the root cause of our inability to manage AI sustainably. And this culture of proprietary secrecy is exactly why independent researchers are sounding the alarm. As researchers point out in an iScience perspective, without achieving true data transparency, it's practically impossible to create empirical, effective strategies for carbon-neutral AI. The bottom line, you simply cannot manage or regulate what you cannot measure. Taking this broad, systemic view also reveals a fascinating temporal S-curve of AI deployment. In the first 0 to 2 years, we see Phase 1, optimization, where AI actually helps reduce emissions. But then, from years 2 to 5, the reality shifts into Phase 2, the rebound effect. Surging resource demands from explosive AI adoption completely swallow up those initial efficiency gains. It's only with strict geographical and temporal planning, Phase 3, that we can even hope for long-term net positive environmental outcomes. Ultimately, as we face these stark intergenerational impacts, we are left with a massive question to chew on. Are our current frameworks actually equipped to protect planetary health in future generations? Or by relying on outdated accounting and tactical vagueness, are we simply greenwashing the fastest industrial expansion in human history? The data shows us the reality. Now it's up to us to demand the transparency needed to change course. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.